What's up, everybody? This is the Pick Six podcast, but this is not the actual Pick Six podcast. This is a YouTube special show. I'm Will Brinson, the host of this, whatever you want to call it. Joining me, Ryan Wilson, John Breech, and Sean Wagner-McGough. And today, on this YouTube exclusive, we're going to run through some early Week 5 lines that have just come out via the Westgate out in Las Vegas, and see how those compare with basically the reaction that we've seen from the games thus far. For more of this podcast, and we'll have a full recap of Week 4's action, go download on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you get your podcast. And go to CBSSports.com and listen live. Rams at Seahawks. The Seahawks actually opened as a slight dog. It's now a pick 'em, and that basically means that they don't know who's going to win, or that the Rams are slightly better because of 3 points home advantage. Ryan, are you surprised to find out that the Seahawks and Pete Carroll could be a dog at home?
I am. Pete Carroll, his khaki slacks, his white sneakers, his broken nose, 68 years young, but I tell you he's going to win. Wilbur, I am all over the Seahawks. We saw what happened to the Rams on Sunday. They got demolished by my new guy, Jameis Winston. Meanwhile, the Seahawks, they won pretty easily. And before the season, I had the Seahawks winning that division. They're still behind the 49ers before the Monday night game against Pittsburgh, but I feel pretty strongly that this is going to be a turning point. If they can get Russell Wilson more involved, he threw the ball a little more often on this Sunday. And I don't know what's to make of the Rams after what happened at home against Tampa Bay. So I'm all in on the Seahawks. I like them to win that game, I like them to cover. Everything else, they're my team.
You know what's funny about this game? It is that Brinson just mentioned and opened up with the Rams as a 2.5-point favorite, and that point spread came out near the end of the third quarter. Then we all watched the disastrous fourth quarter that Jared Goff and the Rams had, and boom, now it's a pick 'em. I mean, after watching this game, if I'm the Rams, if I'm Sean McVay, if I'm Les Snead, I am just scanning through Jared Goff's contract and see if there is any way I can get a refund on that money. If there is anything I can do to get out of that so that he is not I mean, this was just a disaster. This was the nightmare scenario you kind of envisioned the offseason was when everybody was debating whether or not Goff should be the quarterback of their future. If anyone missed that game, he had 4 turnovers, which were 3 interceptions, and he lost a fumble that got returned for a touchdown late in the fourth quarter, which ended up icing the game. I cannot, knowingly, having watched that, pick Jared Goff to go into Seattle and beat the Seahawks. I won't do it. So, in this pick 'em, I like Seattle a lot right now.
Yeah, look, everyone knows that I hate to agree with both Ryan and Breech, but I have to do it here. If you look at Jared Goff's stats since last December, and that was right after the Chiefs-Rams shootout that we all remember broke a bunch of offensive records, he's been dreadful. He's actually thrown 1 more interceptions than touchdowns in that span. Additionally, in his last 13 games, he has 14 fumbles. I can't trust him against Seattle, and I think he's the biggest reason why. And you look at the Rams' offensive line, I think the pass protection has decreased for him. That's a factor. And look, what happened last December, Todd Gurley went AWOL with that knee injury, and without that dominant run game, without that dominant pass protection, I think we're seeing that Jared Goff can't carry the Rams offense by himself. I also like the Seahawks because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the Jared Goff game was the worst 500-yard passing game I've ever seen in my entire life. That was terrible, man. They were just bad, and you get, that defense is going to get blown up by the Buccaneers, and I think they're going to struggle against the Seahawks. Arizona, not much in the way of a good team, but certainly Seattle has looked like they can step up in these divisional games, and I'm with you guys. So we got a clean sweep lean on the Seahawks, which means you should hammer the Rams. The Packers at the Cowboys. As we record this, the Cowboys are still playing in New Orleans. Green Bay, though, this is how Vegas works. They get the line out quickly. The Cowboys are minus 4.5 points at home against the Green Bay Packers. John, the last thing we saw Green Bay was getting decimated in the running game by the Philadelphia Eagles. Does that make you lean Cowboys here? Is this line begging people to take the Packers after that humiliating effort on Thursday night by your doppelganger, Matt LaFleur?
You know what's crazy is that I hate betting against my doppelganger, and that doesn't mean I'm not going to do it, but it's just that if they could not stop, the Eagles have the most atrocious running game, or they did going into that game. They didn't know who they were going to give all their carries to. They were just kind of in disarray, and all of a sudden, going up against the Packers fixed everything, and they just kind of steamrolled Green Bay. With Dallas, it's a lot easier. They're just going to feed Zeke and feed Zeke and feed Zeke, and I'm not sure the Packers are going to be able to stop Ezekiel Elliott. But here is the one thing. Whenever these two teams play, Aaron Rodgers somehow pulls a rabbit out of his hat. Usually the Cowboys have more talent. Rodgers just brings that dagger and kind of puts it in the Cowboys' jugular. I think he's beating them 4 of the last 5 times these two teams have played, including a couple crazy playoff games that we've seen. So even though I kind of was leaning Cowboys at first when I saw this point spread, I am kind of going the Packers right now.
I'm happy you said that, Breech, because now I can finally disagree with you. I'm all in on the Cowboys on this game. Brinson mentioned that terrible run defense. Their last 3 games, they've actually allowed 174 yards on average per game. And we know in week 1, the Bears simply didn't even try to run the ball, which looks like a huge mistake in hindsight. And here's the other thing. Breech mentioned Aaron Rodgers' history against the Cowboys, and that's completely true. But I think right now, if you're looking at who would you rather have for one game or one season, I would much rather have Dak Prescott in this new look Cowboys offense. So I'm all in on the Cowboys.
It's Pick Six Podcast. We like fun facts. Here's a fun fact for you. Breech. You're making me agree with Sean. That's not the fun fact. Here's the fun fact. Football Outsiders, our guys, have the Green Bay defense ranked 3rd overall. That's amazing. They're 22nd against the run. You hinted at it. Zeke Elliott is going to do a lot of the work. Dak Prescott, Sean's MVP. He's doing great throwing the ball through the air. He can also run. I don't know what to make of that Packers team based on what we saw on Thursday night. They let the Eagles get back into it. I thought Carson Wentz outplayed Aaron Rodgers. You guys thought it was crazy. Sean just said he likes Dak Prescott better than Aaron Rodgers. No one said a word, so I'm calling him out, even though I have to agree with him. I'm going with the Cowboys. I like them at home against the Packers.
Yeah, I'm with you guys here. I like the Cowboys and my MVP and Dak Prescott. I don't believe even that those Football Outsiders are necessarily adjusted through week 4, which means that the Packers are probably going to plummet in terms of that ranking in the rush defense. They were terrible against that, and I think this is not a get right game, but a kind of a flex game at home for the Cowboys. They understand it's a possible fellow contender in the NFC, maybe a contender. No Devontae Adams. Give me the Cowboys here as well. I like it. The line's begging you to take the Packers. Vikings, my Vikings, humiliated on Sunday. Humiliated. Kirk Cousins is trash. Their defense isn't good enough to stop Chase Daniel. And they still lost to the Chicago Bears. It's the worst bet I made all week. Why would I take the Vikings on the road? Kirk Cousins in a big divisional game against a great defense. I'm a moron. But you know what? You know what defense isn't good? And you know what team sucks? The New York Giants. That's who sucks, Sean. And Kirk Cousins is going to go in there against that defense and light them up. And the Vikings, who are -5.5, are going to roll in this one.
I hate to agree with you. And look, the Vikings it was embarrassing. It was a terrible display against the Bears defense. And we all should have seen it coming, you included, Brinson. We know Kirk Cousins against good teams, 5-27 now in his career against teams over 500. The good news is that the Giants are not above 500. And while Danny Dimes, he had a great debut against Tampa Bay, threw 2 interceptions against the Redskins. The Vikings defense, I think, is a lot better, obviously, than the Redskins. I think this team is designed to beat up on bad football teams. We saw it in week 3 against the Raiders. I think they go in there and they beat up on a rookie quarterback, and Mike Zimmer has his way with Danny Dimes.
I'm going all in on the Giants. Danny Dimes, I love the nickname. People are whinging about the nickname Danny Dimes. Not a great game on Sunday. We saw what he did last week in his debut. He's going to continue to get better. It's going to be ups and downs, but I think he has what it takes to get the Giants from being something better than the one-win team they were with Eli Manning. On the other side of the ball, look, we have a nickname for Kirk Cousins. It's Kirby. I have a new nickname for Kirk Cousins. You're going to have to listen to the Pick Six podcast because I don't know if I can say it straight up on YouTube. So listen to that. It's Minnesota related, sports related. I have zero faith in that team, partly because Brinson picked in the Super Bowl, partly because he picked the Garrett Bradbury, their first round pick, the center to win Rookie of the Year. He's gotten blasted game after game. I have zero faith in Kirby Cousins, Mike Zimmer. Only person I trust in that team is Dalvin Cook.
Man, Wilson, we're going to have to put this thing on the Red Bam section of YouTube so that we can get your curse words and your flashing everyone on our videos. Here's the thing is that here we are all agreeing again. It is the thing about Kirk Cousins is that if he's going up against a trash defense, he's going to look like Tom Brady. If he's going up against the Bears, he's going to look like Josh Allen. Sorry, Josh Allen, I don't make fun of you right now. But so That's it. That's all it is. And you know what the Vikings are going to do? Because Mike Zimmer hates putting the game in the hands of Kirk Cousins. They're going to do exactly what they did in their first 2 games. They're going to give the ball to Dalvin Cook probably 25 times. Cousins going to throw a bunch of short screens, a bunch of short passes. They're all going to work because the Giants' offense is so bad. The Vikings probably roll up 400 yards here, and I think they cover this easily. They probably win this by double digits.
All right, so we all think the Vikings will roll, which means, again, take the Giants. Patriots, a huge road favorite, -13 at the Redskins. But look, here's the catch here. As we saw on Sunday, Bill Belichick I'm writing this on CBSSports.com. I think he has the best defense of his coaching career, which is insane that it's happened this late, that he's won so many Super Bowls, and that it's occurring like in this era of great passing. He destroys young quarterbacks. And there is one young quarterback who will probably be starting because he came in for Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins. He looked terrible against an awful Giants defense. Awful. I mean, they were terrible, and he looked awful. And now he's got to play Bill Belichick. No mercy time. Patriots -13. That line's not high enough. If you want me to stay off the Patriots, Ryan, it needs to be like 16 or 17, maybe 26, honestly.
-33. Keep going. It doesn't matter. I was in Buffalo. You guys probably heard this story watching the Patriots play against the Bills. The Bills should have won that game. Josh Allen lost them that game. He got knocked out early in the fourth quarter with a nasty hit, concussion. Turns out Matt Barkley's terrible too, so he didn't help there either. The takeaway is, and Brinson, you hit on this, that defense for the Patriots is lights out. Number 1 against the run, number 1 against the pass. Way better than their offense with Tom Brady. Tom Brady looked like Josh Allen out there for most of that game. Credit to the Bills defense for that. But the takeaway is they're playing the Redskins. Terrible football team. Way worse than the Dolphins in terms of what they have planned for the future. If they lose by 13 points, that's a moral victory for Dan Snyder and the Redskins.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, there's all this talk about the Redskins maybe firing Jay Gruden. I want him to stick around for this game because of what happened. He should never have put Dwayne Haskins in this past week. I want him to reap what he sows. Start the rookie quarterback against the Patriots, lose the game 71-0, because that's what's going to happen. Dwayne Haskins might throw 7 interceptions in this game. The Patriots defense might score 30 points. I do not see any way the Patriots don't cover the spread. I mean, you guys have already talked it up to 33 points, which feels about where it should be. I'll be shocked if the Redskins score double-digit points on their own in this game, and there's no way their defense is going to hold the Patriots under, say, 25. So this is just a blowout waiting to happen. It's just a question of whether it's going to be 2 touchdowns or 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, quite frankly, I kind of think the line should be kind of more similar to what the Patriots in Miami was, because I think that this Redskins team might actually have a chance to challenge the Dolphins for the top pick in the draft. I think they're that bad. The only difference being, of course, the Dolphins are trying to be bad. The Redskins are not trying to be bad. We talked about the Patriots defense. They've allowed 1 touchdown since the AFC Championship game. It happened in the second half of Sunday against the Bills when Josh Allen got the ball over the goal line. It doesn't matter who the Redskins play at quarterback, Case Keenum, Colt McCoy, the rookie Dwayne Haskins. I think Bill Belichick's going to eat him up. I don't see any way the Redskins keep this close. I think it'll be a big blowout as well.
Just so you know, the line is already up to 14.5 as we're recording this. I will say, for those who like to bet early, I still like 14.5, but you'd much rather have it under 2 touchdowns. For those that like to get their bets in early, the over-under is 46, and that's too high because the Redskins are not going to score against this Patriots team, and the Patriots are going to grind it out just like they did in Buffalo. I know it's back-to-back road games, but come on. Last game we'll look at. Ooh. Sexy tri-state area matchup here. Jets and Eagles. You like that, Sean? You like a little tri-state attractiveness humor? Eagles -14 hosting the Jets. We don't know what Sam Darnold's status is. They're coming off the bye. There's some chatter he could try to come back. I think that would be a mistake. We don't need a exploding spleen on our hands. So Breech, right now, though, given what we've seen with this line, where would you head in terms of Jets catching 14 from Philly?
Whew. You know, the Eagles beating anyone by 2 touchdowns seems pretty impossible right now, but we all did see how bad the Jets looked with Luke Falk. So it is a huge question of whether or not Sam Darnold plays. So if Darnold plays, I think they can cover this. If Sam Darnold does not play, Eagles might win this game 35-10. I don't think Luke Falk is going to pull any Minshew magic out of his hat. So I think that, yeah, if that's it. If Darnold plays, they cover. if Luke Falk plays, the Eagles cover this by 21 points.
I don't even know if it matters who's playing at quarterback for the Jets. I think the problem we've talked about on this podcast many times is Adam Gase, and I don't know if I want to take Sam Darnold coming back from a long layover. And if it is Luke Falk, I mean, he had the worst, that Jets offense with Luke Falk had the worst performance against the Bill Belichick defense in Bill Belichick's entire career with the Patriots. So the Eagles are banged up, but I think what we saw against the Packers, I think that could be a big turning point in their season. And I think they're clearly the better team. I don't care who's at quarterback. I think the Eagles win big.
You can have Luke Falk. You can have Sam Darnold. You can have Le'Veon Bell. You can have Adam Gase out there. They can have 25 players on the field. They're still losing this game by 3 touchdowns. Even if Sam Darnold comes back, he's been laid up with mono for 3 weeks, so he's not going to be healthy. He's probably lost 25 pounds. He probably looks like Breech does right now. There's no way he can come out there and dominate anybody. They're in a world of hurt. The Eagles look really good in Green Bay the other night. I like the way Carson Wentz played. I have zero faith in this Jets team, and if there's anyone that's worse off than Jay Gruden, it might be Adam Gase, just because he has been so terrible with the expectations put upon him. This is one of the worst teams in football, and no one's talking about it because Sam Darnold's hurt.
All right, there you go. I'm going to just throw one more out there in case, somebody watching this wants to throw in another early bet. And I'll let Sean have the final word on this. And Debo knows I don't like to get out on time. The Chicago Bears are -5.5 against the Oakland Raiders on what I believe is a game in London, right? That game is in London, and it's on a neutral field, and the Chicago Bears are -5.5. I don't think that's enough points for that Bears defense against Derek Carr and that Oakland Raiders team.
Yeah, and I agree. And you look at the other side of the ball, Chase Daniel could be effective in this Bears offense as long as he avoids turnovers. And that's exactly what he did against a much better Vikings defense. I don't know how they protect Derek Carr. Derek Carr throughout his career has struggled immensely, more so than other quarterbacks under pressure. He has a tendency to feel pressure before it even arrives. And let's remember what the Bears did to the Vikings on Sunday. That was without a lot of key defensive players like Roquan Smith and Akeem Hicks. So I think if the Bears get healthy defensively in time for that game, I think you're going to see a couple Derek Carr interceptions to the point where Chase Daniel doesn't even need to play well for the Bears to win by multiple scores.
All right, there you have it. That is the Pick Six rundown of early lines from Week 5. Make sure and check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcast, and we'll talk to you guys soon.